my name is Anja Schneider from Berlin, and you are watching the RRP TV. Oh my God, it's a long time ago because I'm a long time in the business. And of course, I'm always was interested in music, but I won't tell you what was my first record because it was terrible. But I can tell you what was my second record. And of course, I'm coming from Germany. So I have to name this one and only band Kraftwerk, and Computer Welt was one of my biggest albums, and I heard it in my child room all the time. And because I was so fascinated, because this was completely different music, it was minimal, it was electro, it was like something what really blown me away. And then of course I stayed in this focus, and of course my first album, and still I'm a super huge fan, is Depeche Mode. Speak and Spell, and then The Cure. So I was a little bit like this groovy, you know, I had this black hair and had this dancing moves. And actually it still influenced me, and I'm still like a huge fan of The Cure and Depeche Mode, and I will ever stay for sure. So I was more in this, not gothic, but more electro kind of thing style. Of course it was already Kraftwerk because they were for me the inventor of it. But of course with my moving to Berlin, I went for the first time into the legendary Tresor Club. And what they did during this time, it was in the beginning of the 90s, they had like a huge relationship with Detroit. So I heard the first time people like Underground Resistance, and I was completely blown away. And of course Jeff Mills. And I think this was also like a huge influence. And without my moving to Berlin and visit in the Tresor Club, I would never ever discover this music. And I still have the feeling that a little bit soul, what I learned from Underground Resistance, also from all these people, is still in my music and will still stay there forever. I mean, of course, on the other side you had Kraftwerk, which was really German and really cold, and then suddenly all this Underground Resistance, Jeff Mills, even if it's hard music, but it has for me a special soul what no one else can do. And this was really, really important for me, and it directly made click, and I never heard different music again. So I'm still on electronic music since 25 years or long, no, even younger. Of course, I see this in different ways. On the other hand, it's wonderful that it's somehow existing, because it's let more people come into our music scene than we ever expected. Because if you know, when you are young, first of all, you're not hearing, the super cool DJs. You're not going directly to Ricardo Villalobos. Of course, when we went out for the first time, we were not even dancing to the DJ, because we came out of all this rock star behavior and we want to be different. So, and we didn't want to have all this star fame things. So this was the time where I was coming from. So we were not dancing to the DJs, and of course there was no phones and stuff like this. And of course there was like a brilliant scene, because I was coming from a little town and I had no idea about gay people, about other colored people, and electronic music, especially clubs, were doing this time, brings this all together. I learned so much about life and respect and behavior, which I probably not have learned when I was not going out into clubs. And this scene helps me so much, and to understand and accept different people than me. And this is something what I'm seeing, which is we're losing a little bit. The club was always an absolutely safe space for me back in the days, you know, and we have to work on this together, because we have to work that all these ego things go a little bit away, and that we hug each other again. And I hope we can do this. I mean, now it's quite difficult, but you know what I mean, yeah? You know, we are on techno music since more than 30 years. We never ever expect this, that this music is gonna be the next really, really big thing. It's now everywhere, which is also nice and beautiful, because I love electronic music and I will always do. So there's always two sides of the thing. To the end of the tunnel. Of course, the most difficult is to stay true to yourself, and you have to look every day in the mirror and face it. And of course, when fame, money, and all this coming, you're gonna change, your environment change, you have suddenly friends that will be probably not your friends. To stay always true about yourself is the most difficult thing, you know, and not really doing this because there's money involved. So you have always to do this because you're believing in this. This is my opinion, you know. Of course it's beautiful when you get, I mean, we have all jobs where we're dreaming of, you know, but it's, on the other hand, it's really difficult to stay true and to really respect other people. And also it's quite difficult to follow the hypes, because even when we're talking about electronic music, there's always a different hype. I mean, I start when minimal was big, and I was coming from minimal, I love it. So, and of course we have always these waves, which is now quite successful, but if I would change, for example, now to hardcore techno because it's now the big thing, it would be completely stupid. I have to be true to myself and follow and play what I'm feeling. And of course I can change because I'm getting older and get grown up every day. So, and I have to learn. So, but I think always staying true to yourself and don't believe the hype. Oh, of course, the best party memories are not to tell on video. No, but on the other hand, I mean, after this long break where we are all into, it was amazing to play the first shows and to be with the people, because you could feel everyone, you know, all these things what we took for granted was suddenly gone, and it was so nice to be back, even if we still have this little fear because we are not back to normal. As I can just say, talk about from Germany, because you still feel like, okay, in a club, can I hug someone? You know, sometimes when you have a drink which is normal, which was not yours, you're like, oh, panicking, you know. So I hope that we come back to normal and that we can also hug and be together, because this is what we all missed the most, to be close with someone and to be with our friends. And yeah, and this can actually, clubs can were really important, played an important role for this, to be together with your friends and let go. Sometimes you have to do this. I have a 10-year-old son. You don't want to know what I give him. You are not going into clubs. No, quite no. I'm not sure, because I just said, I'm not saying, oh my God, it was all better. I mean, I can always say, you have to be responsible for what you're doing and how you treat people and how you treat yourself, you know, because this is how you're gonna get known, and you have to deal every day with yourself and what you did. So be always respectful. What you want that people are doing to you, you have to be also. You treat, you know what I mean? My English is today like, sorry, I got vaccinated today for the third time. Maybe this is why I'm like, no, you always have to treat people like you wanted to be treated. No, actually, there's too much fandom, you know. I think if I would met them, I would completely speechless and in eyes, and I couldn't do this. Of course not. This would be too intimate and too, no. So I would rather work with someone where I would feel more relaxed and have not this fandom and stardom, you know. But of course, it would be, I could not even stay in one little room with them. I would be too nervous. So it's difficult to name only one. So, but there are a lot of, and actually I like also this whole new generation. I really respected them, and I think there's some really interesting kids coming up, and this is wonderful, and also great women. Actually, this is nice. Actually, I just discovered two guys from Berlin. They're around 20, and they're called Baugruppe 90. It's a typical German name. And I met them via they sending me music, and I was completely also blown away how these young kids also, they were doing techno in a way I can't say I never heard it, but it was so interesting and so good. And so they did a remix for myself for All I See, and now they did a remix for Aura, and they're great. And I'm absolutely sure they have a great career looking forward to. Baugruppe 90. I just recently did a record for He She Day, which was more electro, more breaky, and I love this at the moment really much. I don't know, because of the lockdown, you know. I was closed down on the studio, and there was no sense to make music for clubs because there was no club open. And suddenly I discovered my love for doing tracks which are slowly breaky, So I did the He She Day, and now I'm working on a new EP. I did several remixes. I did one for a Portuguese label for Glimpse, GPU Panic. Then I did a remix for Renaissance. I make a break remix and a Four to the Floor remix, which is coming out next. I did a remix for Buka Shade. And I'm working on a new EP. And yes, and my label, of course, have this wonderful release of this track what I did with Sophie Hunger, which was an indie singer. And there are coming remixes of Panpot and Baupop 90.